We are back. You saw the thumbnail, you saw the title, you know what we're about to do. We are about to have a fantastic guest in the house today. The honorable Doug Weinstein. Now, if you're not familiar, Doug Weinstein is the attorney, the defending counsel for Yak Gotti. He's the gentleman that most of you all have endeared because he's the one that spoke to Woody with such nice, kind words, or he's the one that he's known for the motions, right? He's also known for some pretty high quality eyeglass fashion as well. So we're going to talk to Doug on this evening. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you all so much for stopping by tonight. If you don't mind, in the chat, could you just go ahead and put Doug in the chat? Let him know we greatly appreciate him taking the time tonight to stop by. And let's welcome Mr. Weinstein, if I can do this right. There we go.
Hey,
Grace and peace. How are you, friend?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me here. I'm sorry that I bugged out the last time I was supposed to be here, so I need to send you and all of your folks apologies for that.
You know what? We will accept that. If nothing else, if you would just tell us, Doug, the
Yeah,
question of the day
sure.
that's on everybody's mind.
Okay.
How many pairs of eyeglasses do you have? Come on, just come on.
Oh, there you go.
Fess up, fess up.
Okay. So I've got 3 or 4 pairs of eyeglasses, roughly. But what I have is I have this one pair where I can swap out the facade on the front.
Not Transformer eyeglasses.
Yeah,
Doug is high
Transformer.
fashion. I
So,
love it.
because I was going a little too crazy with my eyeglasses, and my wife's like, I found this kind of glasses. You can swap the front, and why don't you go with that? So that's what I've been doing lately.
I love Mrs. Weinstein. Shout out to that. That's pretty cool.
Miss
All
Chen,
right.
Miss Chen.
Miss
She
Chen.
likes to keep her. Yeah, she kept her name.
Okay. No problem.
Yeah,
As long as she keeps you, I guess it's okay. How about that?
right. That's the deal I have.
There we go. As long as she keeps you, you can keep the name. I
Yeah,
love it. Well, Doug, thank you so very much for
sure.
coming in today. I got quite a few questions for you, but I do want to just give you an opportunity to tell us who is the Honorable Douglas Weinstein. You've had a little history with law.
Yeah,
You started in one branch, now you're in another. How did you end up getting there? So, like,
that's
who is
right.
this Mr. Weinstein?
So I'll give you some the quick synopsis. All right.
Not a problem.
So I graduated from engineering school. I was an electrical engineer. And I went to
Okay.
work for US Steel as an engineer. I worked in a steel mill in Birmingham for 7 years.
Okay.
And I got bored. And it was interesting for a while, but then I got bored, decided to do something different. And I worked with some patent lawyers. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go be a patent lawyer, right? And go to law school, decided I'm going to become a patent lawyer. Never thought I'd be a litigator, but I did end up being a litigator. And so I still do it. I litigate mostly patent cases,
Okay.
all kinds of patent, copyright, trademark, trade secret cases, and federal court all around the U.S. And then a few years ago, an acquaintance who's now become a friend said that they needed some help in criminal. I had some extra time. I was looking for something new because honestly, I was getting kind of bored with what I was doing. So I said, well, if you're willing to teach me, I'm willing to learn. And it's not the same. There's some overlap. There's some skills
Sure.
that overlap, but and I guess you'll see that sometimes with motion practice, that I'm a little more vigorous maybe in motion practice than I am on some other things like cross-examination. But that's how I started getting into criminal. So I still do some civil litigation, but obviously my days are spent in YSL amongst the other criminal cases. So mostly I'm doing criminal now with the civil on the side.
Wow.
Yeah.
Doug, most of us, when we get bored, we take up bike riding or knitting or start a YouTube channel. You start a whole new career path. So that's pretty amazing. All
That's
right.
my thing. That's my thing.
Now,
Who knows what's next when I'm 75? We'll see what comes next.
well, we're going to need you not to get bored because we enjoy seeing you in 1C. So at the current time, can you please not get bored until this case gets over with?
Oh, I
And
think
then after that, it's off to the races. Okay.
I think I'll be here for a while, so you don't have to worry about me going anywhere.
Okay. Now, this is not one of my questions planned.
Okay.
All right. Here it comes.
All right.
When is it going to be over?
Aha. That is a great question. Okay. My current prediction,
Okay.
assuming something doesn't go sideways before then, sideways for the state, not sideways for the defendants, I'm going to say late spring 2025.
Okay.
That's
I
going to
said
be a
late summer. I said it's gonna be
late
around
summer.
I
Yeah,
said September 2025 because I said there's no way it's gonna end. And so I
I
said,
really,
"Okay,
I
okay."
really hope you're wrong.
Oh, trust me. Look, I wish I could snap my fingers and it'd be over tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Late spring, because I've heard people say February. I said, "You're hoping."
Mm-mm.
No, I'm sorry, my guy. You're
I'm not
hoping and
buying
wishing.
that.
Yeah, that one's not gonna happen.
Not February. No, no.
Okay.
So we'll be playing baseball when this thing's over.
I love it. I love it. Well, Doug, let's go ahead and look at some of these questions from the audience. And
Great.
all right, is there a sense among the defense team that you have to be cautious around ADA love to avoid any potential bias or overreach, especially when it comes to your client's constitutional rights?
So cautious around ADA love. I don't think we're cautious around the prosecutors at all. I think we're very aggressive but professional in asserting the rights of our clients and in um, you know standing up and fighting the prosecutors. I don't. If anyone sees some caution, I'm kind of curious about that. Now, if the question is, are we cautious around the judge? Um, I wouldn't say we're cautious around the judge either. I'd say we're respectful and courteous of the court. But I don't think we're cautious around the prosecutors.
Okay. I will add a little bit to this because I've heard people say this. While, for example, while the state is doing their long dance around a topic,
Yeah,
the defense isn't saying very much.
yeah.
And let's say it's not a hostile witness. They're just not saying much. And so people are wondering if maybe you all were not saying anything because you guys are just like beat down or feel like what's the use if I say anything? She's not going to do anything anyway.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's what I think. Also, people are feeling like watching because there was a time when you all were like actively giving them the business, but recently it's kind of quieted down. Maybe
I
that's what
see.
they were referring to.
Well, I can tell you that as much as you might expect it, none of us are worn down.
Okay. Okay.
Um, we're not at all. When there is time for an appropriate objection, we make it. I don't ever feel like I'm holding back. The morning, if you somewhat related, there was that morning I was making all the 403 objections. Or I think someone did
Yes.
a count and I made, I don't know, 24 or 25,
It was a lot.
and 21 were sustained. And then in the afternoon, if you recall, it slowed significantly. And
Yes.
the reason it slowed is just frankly, Ms. Love wasn't making as many objectionable questions to the witness,
Okay.
where a 403 would have been sustained. So I'm pretty careful with maintaining my credibility with the court. I think a lawyer's credibility, that's our resource that we harness with the judge, and we have to spend it very carefully. So I won't make objections just to make objections. I won't make objections in order to, for example, interrupt the flow of the prosecutors. I won't do that because when I stand up and make an objection, I think it's because it's real, and I want the judge to say, "Oh, Weinstein's objecting. There may be something to it. I need to listen to what he says." So
I
I
love it.
am careful with that.
I love it. Thank you so much for that.
Sure.
Okay. So, and on the heels of Adrian Love filing a motion, actually just this afternoon, the question is, do you anticipate filing a motion for the recusal of the current judge, or could there be a push to elevate this case to the Supreme Court now that it's gone through the federal court system?
There's absolutely nothing that the judge has done that would warrant a recusal.
Okay.
Like zero that she has done. Um,
Okay.
I don't detect any bias. She hasn't, you can't file a recusal motion just because you don't like the judge's rulings. As you heard Judge Glanville tell me,
Right.
when I made my recusal motion to him, he said, "Well, Mr. Weinstein, you have a problem with my ruling," which I didn't at all. So that kind of caught me out of left field. And he's right about the law on that. You
Right.
can't
Right. Right.
move to recuse a judge just because you don't like a ruling.
Right.
So there's been no basis for me to file a recusal, and I don't see one coming from our side. And by
I
the
love it.
way, if the state were to file one, so far I've seen absolutely nothing that would warrant the state filing a motion for
I love
recusal.
it. I like it. And I know someone did ask the question. Have you had an opportunity to read Ada Love's motion 403 to get back in that Instagram post with the phone number?
Um, I did look at that. I'm less focused on that one because I believe that was Brian or Max's to argue. I
Okay.
was more focused on the 403 motion she filed to bar us in perpetuity from ever making another 403 objection. And I will have a response. I expect to have a response to that. And I am delayed in that response by being your guest.
Oh
So
my gosh.
that
Oh,
will
well then,
that
oh,
will
well then
potentially be coming later tonight.
I got you. Well, if you need some help, I will absolutely unequivocally help you not
I,
write that.
I
Because we
have
need your
thought.
motions to have weight. We need your motions to have weight, my friend.
I have thoughts on that motion she filed regarding 403, and I'm not going to be in court tomorrow. Katie Hingerty's going to be there, but
Okay.
I have to decide how to express them, and I have a feeling this is one of those opposition briefs that I file that I'll have to write,
Hmm.
put away for a few hours,
And to come
and
back
come
to,
back to it and tone it down.
I got you. Well, we want to make sure you have enough time to do that.
Oh, I don't
Now,
think it's going to take me very long.
well, don't worry about it. I mean, that motion she wrote was 3 sentences. So
Yeah,
I
mine will be a
digress.
tad longer, but not much.
Just a little bit. Don't let us down now, Doug. Don't let us
No,
down
I
here.
won't let you down.
Sir, do you have any concerns about any current grounds for a mistrial or appeal based on how the judge has ruled in favor of the prosecution more often than the defense? Does that make you stutter or feel like something might go south for you?
As far as Judge Whitaker goes, I know people think they see bias there. Obviously, there's some rulings that she's made that I don't agree with,
Mhm.
but I think she's been pretty fair all around. Um, I have a lot of issues with the rulings Judge Glanville made over the course.
Mhm.
I think there are so many different uh, grounds for appeal
For sure.
prior to Judge Whitaker taking over. And frankly, some of Judge Whitaker's decisions are grounds for appeal. I believe she should have granted my motions for mistrial. I mean, I wouldn't have filed the motions for mistrial unless I thought there was a solid foundation for it and they should have been granted. So, in that respect, what she did there, I think, is grounds for appeal. So, this, I don't see how this case, as much as even if Judge Whitaker does a perfect job from here going forward, if, God forbid, there's a guilty verdict in this case, I don't see how this case stands up on appeal.
I got you. I'm trying to find the question because I am interested in this. I've watched the pre-trial motion for
Mhm.
using rap lyrics.
Oh, yeah.
And I do have a question about that, but I'm going to ask my question.
Okay.
This is something I've noticed. Judge Glanville said certain things about that motion, which I think you argued it very well. I do think
Thank
there
you.
are some things, some areas that I I feel like you might not have hit it right out the park, but I don't think it was. I still don't think they did as well as they were granted. But I digress.
Yeah.
Judge Glanville made some decisions on that, like for example, that the rap lyrics prove that Jeffrey is the leader of the gang, if you will. The lyrics. It seems like and sounds like to me, Judge Whitaker almost contradicted that a couple of days ago with the commentary about something on a Instagram post. Some
Mhm.
comment that was in an Instagram post almost contradicted what Judge Glanville said, which, in my opinion, this whole case was built on lyrics, rap lyrics, and shored up by Woody and Sledge. But is that possible for a judge to contradict the previous judge and it not be thrown out, or how does that work?
Yeah. I mean, I think Judge Whitaker, I think, is reluctant to revisit any of Judge
Understandable.
Glanville's rulings.
I agree.
I don't specifically agree with your view of how he ruled on the interpretation of the lyrics as it relates to Jeffrey Williams. I'm not going to speak on it because he's not my client. I just don't agree with your assessment of his ruling. As I took his rap lyric ruling, he has found that they're, at least on a preliminary basis, the rap lyrics are admissible. And I too think I could have argued. And anytime you do something and you look back at it, you're like, oh, could have done that a little bit different. And I don't I don't disagree that there's some things I could improve on that. But I find the use of rap lyrics incredibly offensive,
Amen.
just on a macro level, from
Yes.
any number of perspectives, from a First Amendment perspective, from the fact that they only use lyrics against people of color, defendants
Mhm.
of color. They're never used against anyone else. I think there is a incredibly racist presumption that if a black person writes a lyric, it must be autobiographical,
Yep.
because I think there's an implication that for some reason a black person cannot inhabit a persona, and write from that perspective. So that's just on a big level. And then I just think on downright evidentiary issues, 401, 402, 403, they're more prejudicial than probative. Um, there's so many issues with rap lyrics. And that's why, again, um, I keep suggesting people read the book Rap on Trial, because it's a fantastic book that gets into this. And it's one of the very first things I read when we took this case and I began working on it, because it's incredibly informative.
Well,
I could do a whole show on nothing but the use of rap lyrics in trial.
and and I might take you up on that because I would like to dig into that a little bit more. I do appreciate, and I don't want it to sound like I didn't agree with your argumentation at all. I feel like the I forgot the two fellas' names that they brought in. I just thought it was very interesting that everybody who was arguing against rap music or for rap music is north of 40 years old. I was like,
Yeah.
look, is that not interesting to anybody else? That dynamic doesn't cause anybody else to say, that just the optics doesn't look good. And you made a great point. I used it in a video. New music always sounds loud to old ears. And anybody who has children can agree. Like my children are right now doing something in the kitchen and it's loud to me. You know why? Because it's something new that I wouldn't do when I was 17 and 15 years old. And so I think that that's the point. And I just think that his arguments were really bad. But go ahead. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Brandon.
No, I was just going to say, I wish I could take credit for that line,
I don't
but
throw it.
I steal from the best. I like to think I credit them, but I do steal from the best. So that line is from Justice Thurgood Marshall,
Mhm.
and it had to do with a case involving, I believe, some type of performance of music. Maybe it was in Central Park. I can't remember anymore. And it's a great line that is true not just for the literal sense of it. New music sounds loud to old ears, but I think it has implications beyond, or use beyond music. So
I like that.
I snagged that line from Justice Marshall,
Well, you've said it enough. You can say, as I always say.
as I
And
oh
then now
yeah,
you can do that. And then now you can just quote yourself. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
love it. No, that was a very good. If you ever want to, I would love to hear more about your thoughts. And if the moderators would drop the link to the book, Rap on Trial, right? Rap on Trial.
Yeah, Rap on Trial, and I apologize for not knowing the authors' names. I
That's
should
okay.
know them off the top of my head. One is a professor at the University of Georgia. Um,
Oh,
but
dogs.
yeah, oh, there it is right there. Great. Rap on Trial. Go out and buy it. It's not expensive.
Okay.
Of course, if you want to be shocked and outraged, but if that shock and outrage motivates you to force for change, to push for change with your vote, with petitioning, there's an act right now in Congress, the RAP Act.
Yeah.
Please write your Congress people about the RAP Act. I don't know where it stands, but it's supported by both Republicans and it's got bipartisan support. Um,
You know that's got to be a lightning in a bottle.
yeah, yeah. So
So
let's get that through. Let's get that through Congress.
I love it. Thank you so much for that, man. Now, Doug, this trial has been long and drawn out. Do you feel like the prosecution is intentionally dragging its feet, or do you believe that they are presenting a solid case?
I don't like those two options as the only options.
Okay,
Um,
you know what, Doug? Answer this one however you see fit, and you can rephrase the question as you see fit. We'll give you the uh, the
yeah.
objection.
I do not think that they are intentionally dragging their case out.
Okay.
I think that they are in, and this isn't quite the same. I don't. I think they are in absolutely no hurry to move the case forward in a deliberate, reasonable, and efficient fashion.
Hmm.
I believe that, I mean, I can only assume by watching their presentation of the case that they believe this is the best way to put their case forward. It's not this, and I really have no right to criticize their presentation because I've never been a prosecutor and I'm relatively new to criminal law, but I've litigated hundreds of cases, and it's not the way I would present a case, be it civil or criminal,
Wow.
just because I don't think the jury is able to follow what they're doing. And if it wasn't for the fact that my client is sitting at Rice Street, I think it's in my interest for them to drag this case out slowly. But I don't, if my guy was out on bond, I may not be I probably wouldn't be objecting more than likely. And I may not be rushing them because I don't think it does them any good the way they're presenting the case. Do I think they have a solid case, as a second question? I've never thought they had a solid case. I think they have a case built on circumstantial evidence, but that is evidence. That, I mean, people say, well, it's just circumstantial. You can convict on circumstantial evidence,
Yeah.
but I don't think they have a great case. And so we've been fighting it.
I got you. I agree. I do think that storytelling and being able to convey an idea forward would be very beneficial for the Fulton
Yeah.
County ADA's office.
Yeah.
Take up Toastmasters, for crying out loud, or
Yeah.
join I made a joke and people thought I was being ridiculous. I said, Adrian Love should learn stand-up comedy. And the reason I say that is because you're learning how to improvise on
Yeah.
the spot and think on your feet. She clearly cannot do that. So I'm a former classroom teacher. So
Okay.
I can fully tell you what it's like to lay out a game plan and come in at 7:02, little Johnny comes in and regurgitates his whole breakfast all over the classroom. Man, the whole day goes south.
Yeah.
So you have to think quickly and be able to move differently. And
Yeah.
so Adrian Love doesn't know how to do that, in my observation. She doesn't know how
I
to
mean,
do
that
that.
could be. I mean, I was an adjunct professor for 10 years.
And you got bored.
I love teaching. I love teaching. It's one of the reasons I go on these shows. It's one of the reasons, honestly, that I answer all these questions. I love to
Yeah.
let people know about the law and answer whatever questions they have about the law, as long as I can do that and stay within my professional responsibilities and ethics and not damage my client. I'm more than happy to do it. I love it. And it's absolutely true. You have to be able to improvise. You have to be able to respond to questions from the class,
Yeah.
questions from your students. Things can go a totally different way than you plan to teach a class lesson. And you need to be able to, as you know, I'm not telling you anything new,
No.
but when that happens, if you see an opening in class where you can go a different way and educate your students, then that's how you have to go. And I've done a little improv in the past, not recently. And you do have to be able to improvise. And what you say about storytelling, it's all about storytelling. Just, I don't want to go on too long a monologue, but when I was doing a lot of patent litigation, there was always a debate because a lot of patent litigators are engineers and scientists like I am. But you also have patent litigators that don't just litigate patents. They litigate kind of everything. They're professional trial attorneys, right?
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
there's always a debate in a patent case. Do I put my engineer patent litigator out there at trial? Okay. Or do I bring in someone else at the end for trial? Someone who just does trials, like that's all they do is trials. And so at my old firm, we had people that we brought in, no engineering background, no science background, but we bring them in for trial to maybe lead the trial because most of those jurors don't have an engineering or science background. And that trial attorney, because he's a trial attorney, knows how to tell a story, knows how to explain things in terms that a jury can understand. And that is so, so important. I try to keep that in mind.
No, I like it. No, I agree with you 100%. So, Mr. Weinstein,
Sir?
what would it take for the defense to request bail for the defendants again? And why do you think these men are being held without bond while others charged with RICOs in Georgia have been released?
So I've been told never to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Wait, hold on.
Here I go.
Just between me and you. It's just me and you.
Just us two.
Just us.
So the part I can say that I haven't been told to not say, in Georgia, we have these things called the IALA factors. And they are the factors that a court is supposed to look at when deciding whether someone should get bond.
Okay.
And those factors are the following. Is this defendant a risk of flight? In other words, is he going to return to court? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
2, is this defendant a danger to reoffend? Might they go out and commit offenses? Is this defendant a danger to the community in general? Is this defendant a threat to intimidate witnesses? That is all that the court is supposed to consider. They're not supposed to consider really, except in the context of those 4 questions, what the charges are, recitations of the facts of the case, here's the horrible thing that they're alleged to have done. Those really, except to the degree they play and aren't supposed to go, you aren't supposed to go there. Right. So some judges, there's a judge in DeKalb County, Judge Lake, he'll say, I don't want to hear anything other than the IALA factors. You guys just come in here and argue the IALA factors, and then I'll decide on bond. So after doing criminal law for about 3 years now, what I've decided after doing so many bond hearings is in, I would say, 50 to 70% of the cases I work on, I don't really have a good feel for whether a judge is going to grant bond or not. I know the factors, but the granting of bond varies by county and it varies by judge. Okay. So I can tell you, hey, for these offenses in Fulton County, I think you're probably going to get a bond. But for those same offenses in
Cobb,
rural county, no, let's go rural.
Oh, rural. Okay. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I mean, if I'm down in Waycross or Brunswick, I don't know if you're going to get a bond there. Yeah. So it's a shame that they're not uniformly applied across counties or even across judges within a county. Because if anything, the law should be uniformly applied. Now, with having that said, why hasn't bond been granted in this case? I mean, I don't really understand it. And the easiest one I don't understand is really Jeffrey Williams, because Brian Steele has proposed all kinds of safeguards to be put in place that would not cost the county a dime, that would satisfy those IALA factors. And yet bond is being repeatedly denied. And I did file a 3rd motion for bond for Diamante Kendrick when Judge Whitaker took over. But when I saw that bond had been denied for Jeffrey Williams, with those expensive, costly provisions being put in, I'm like, well, this judge isn't going to grant bond for Diamante Kendrick, at least right now. So what would it take? I don't know what it would take. It would take some type of action from the state, perhaps, that truly demonstrated that I don't know what it'll take, but when it comes, I'll notice it. And I've got that bond motion filed and I'm ready to say, okay, Your Honor, you know that motion I filed that I asked to hold off on? Let's go hear that right now.
I love it. All right, there have been a ton of questions from the actual audience in real time, and I need to tap some of these so we can thank them so much for the wonderful questions. All right, question. Love mentions her disdain to the media and the microphone quite frequently lately. Do you believe this negative projection toward us, the public, is pointing out obvious deficiencies?
Okay. So obviously you've seen me in court.
I've seen you.
And there is no love between myself and Miss Love.
Shocked.
But I also, I try to treat people, I try to see the humanity in everyone. I hope people that watch the trial can see that. And I know everyone hates Miss Love, but I can't imagine what it must be like being her and having so much disdain and sometimes hatred and vitriol directed at her, and not just at the actions that she does, but I feel what goes far beyond the bounds into her physical appearance, and things that really she just doesn't have a lot of control over. And I don't think that's right. So does she have some antipathy for the public? I imagine if I were her, I would. And I mostly get a lot of love on here. But I think if I were in her shoes, I might feel that same way. So I get it. But in Georgia, as Judge Whitaker has said from the bench, it's pretty hard to keep a camera out of the courtroom. So I don't think that camera's going away.
Okay. So, you know that, and I told you earlier, I believe that by the end of this trial, the cameras would be removed. But so you're saying that in Georgia, like that's actually a part of the there's actual law. So it's not
Yeah.
just a preference. It's not just, hey, we just want to see how good I look on camera, but it's actually a real bona fide thing. So okay.
Yeah, it's a
All
real
right.
thing. There's case law on it. There's lawyers that argue it, and it's very difficult for a judge to keep a camera out of a courtroom.
I got you. And I want to say thank you so much, Kristen Vasquez, for the 199 super. She says, what does Doug think about Miss Love's motion 403?
I don't think much of it. I mean, what can I think? It's only a few sentences.
I mean,
You'll have my thoughts later tonight, more than likely. I'm having a terrible allergy attack, so we'll have to see how I feel. But later tonight, well, even if I file later tonight, it won't officially pop up until tomorrow morning. But
oh man, we were gonna
well,
sit by the phone, man. Come on.
no, because once I for people that don't know, once I file it in electronically, it
Yeah.
has to be accepted by the clerk, and I don't post them until they've been accepted and file stamped by the clerk. So y'all won't see it till the morning. That's assuming I have the energy to even respond to that particular document.
Document. I think Adrian the vet, or I'm sorry, Arian the vegetarian, who says, Doug, tell me the name of this painting. People want it.
I don't
People
know, but I feel like I'm going to have to replace that painting soon enough.
give it a name, Doug. Just make a name. We're gonna give
I,
it a name.
I'll let my son name it for me. I'll give him a naming contest. He's
I love it.
far more creative than I am.
Well,
He's
when
in
he
there
names
playing
it,
piano right now. I hope you guys can't hear him.
hmm,
Good.
when he names it, send me a picture and I'll put it in the community post. Doug's painting. I have a picture of Doug's painting and whatever the name thou
Yeah.
shalt be named from moving forward.
Yeah. Well, my wife is Taiwanese, so they don't do paintings on the walls of anything other than like still lifes, things like that. You can't
Yes.
have
Okay.
paintings of pictures of people on the wall. So I had to lose or get rid of quite a few of my paintings. So
Oh,
this is one that's been replaced with. I think it's a lovely painting. I'll take it.
I've heard other people talk about it. So yes, she won. She won out very well.
Yeah,
I want to say thank you, Nancy, for the £5 super. She says, can Doug, or rather, could Steele's contempt case being in the appeal court on the 22nd have any effect on the YSL case?
that's a great question.
These are smart people,
I
man.
don't I don't think so. I can't think of a way it would really affect us. Judge Glanville's not on the case anymore, so any blowback to his actions, I don't think would come out here related to that because I don't think the jury would. Excuse me. I don't think the jury witnessed any of that.
Right.
So, but I don't know.
It's a good
I'd
question.
have to think on that a little bit more. Off the top of my head, I don't think it would affect us.
And this is an interesting one because I've never seen a case with so many defendants. So Creed asked a question. When it comes to the defense witnesses, can y'all cross-examine each other's witnesses, or do you have to direct them?
That's a great question. I believe that we can cross-examine each other's witnesses.
Really?
Um, I that is my belief. I would want to confirm that because this is my first. I've had lots of civil cases with multiple defendants or multiple defendants involved, and there was no need to cross witnesses from your own
Right.
side.
Right.
This is my first criminal with multiple defendants, and I could see that
Okay.
being a possibility. So we're so far away from that yet, I can't even think about it.
You know what? This is not a question that's been asked. So I do want to ask you, when do you think they're going to rest? When do you think the state's going to rest? Maybe I should say, what year do you think the state's going to rest?
I
What
think
century?
100. Next year. I think it's next year. Yeah, I really do.
Wow.
It's
That
crazy.
is, that's amazing. Now,
It's amazing.
KL, I like this question as well. And let me ask you this. Let me rephrase this question. Do you feel like you all are being rushed by Judge Whitaker?
There were times the other day it kind of felt that way to me. And it felt that way a little bit to me the other day. Not always.
Really? Okay.
I think it was more that maybe she had she's growing really frustrated with the pace of this case, and I think on that particular day, she had rushed the prosecutors a little bit, and I think we just may have caught some overflow from that. You know,
I got you.
we were a casualty of that a little bit, perhaps.
Catching strays, catching strays.
And there you go. There you
I
go.
like now she loves Fan-TC with the 9.99 super. This is a good question. I didn't add this to the mix earlier.
Mhm.
Doug, what are your thoughts on the recent development with the correction officer and what happened with um, Mr. Huey and all that stuff going on? Is that going to have any effect in One Charlie at all? What do you think?
That is a great question that I absolutely refuse to answer.
I
So,
I plead the you can plead the fifth.
I'm
Everybody
pleading
put the
fifth,
object.
and don't give me immunity, so I have to answer.
I can force it on you. We're gonna
You
use the
could.
object.
Could
We're gonna
force it
use the
on me.
object
Then
emoji.
I
We
might have
object to you.
ca uh, break
Uh,
break,
are you breaking up? I love it. I love
so
it.
yeah.
The you can say this. Do you feel that this trial is fair?
I feel that since Judge Whitaker has taken over, this is not me kissing her ass. I feel like since Judge Whitaker has taken over, the trial has been fair. I feel that prior prior to Judge Whitaker taking over, I don't think it was fair. And
Really?
that's why I believe I said to Judge Whitaker at one point, you know, I truly believe, I think I said something to this effect. I truly believe, Your Honor, that you're going to run, a fair and just trial going forward, but you can't correct what we've been through for the year and a half prior to you taking over the case. And that's the situation I think we find ourselves in. That's one of the reasons I asked for a mistrial. There's just things she can't fix.
Right.
Um, and I know, I went with Judge Glanville for a long time,
Hmm.
trying to think he was, and I honestly do think he was for a lot of it doing his best, just making some incredibly wrong rulings. And the ex parte meeting was eye opening for me,
It was, yeah.
really eye opening. And so, a lot of people say I was naive to not see it until that point, or to wait so long, and they're probably right. I'm not going to disagree. They're probably right. So you can take what I say about Judge Whitaker, knowing that maybe I haven't been the best judge of judges in the past. But I can tell you this, it would have been hard to draw much better in Fulton County and really easy to draw worse.
Gotcha.
So I am very happy with where we sit.
I love it. All right. We're going back to rap music, Mr.
Okay.
Weinstein. Thanks for hosting. Thank you so much, Ani, for the $5 super. She says rap is a good way to blow off some steam. Would you ask DW, Doug Weinstein, if he
Uh-huh.
can bust a freestyle?
You know, um,
Well, she does say this in one of your next TikToks. So
okay.
you don't have to do it right now, technically.
I was thinking about this, and I was, because I liked 10 years in Asia, so obviously I do a lot of karaoke, right? I got a karaoke set up in my living room, and nobody wants to hear it, but I think my voice is terrible, but I'm energetic, and I think that counts for something. But I was trying to think, do I sing any songs that are even close to rap? Of course, I don't. The closest I've come is "Rapture" by Blondie. So
I love it.
maybe one day, if I have enough Negronis in me, a couple of old fashions, I'll bust out some Blondie and get someone to put a TikTok up of that before I hastily take it down a few hours later.
Well, just make sure you send it to me real quick, or at least let me see it. I
Okay,
won't
that's old
screenshot it.
school. That's old school stuff, though.
I
They've
won't
got
screen
some
record it.
people in that.
Um, back to the rap though,
Yeah,
because I don't feel like they during the pre-trial motion, I don't think they dealt with in detail ghostwriters
yeah,
or
no,
even like I literally put into Chat GPT and it gave me a really grungy, grimy rap song, and one of my subscribers put it to a beat, and it actually sounds pretty good,
yeah,
and the whole nine. And I'm like, this was done by Chat GPT, and the beat was made by AI. No human technically engaged this.
yeah.
how do they deal with that? That I could put this out on my YouTube.
Mhm.
I didn't do it at all, except I
Yeah.
posted it.
Yeah. No, I have a really terrible memory. So I take a lot of notes, I write a lot of things down. Um, but I think I recall Brian Steele getting into the fact with some of this music that you don't even know who wrote it. And I think that's where you got the state to get into the issue of adoptive admissions, where
Okay.
they were arguing, well, even if he didn't write it, just by virtue of singing it, they even got a little crazier, where they would say, just by, I think on some things, they're like, just by virtue of appearing in this music
In the video,
video,
yes, yes.
you're adopting the lyrics, which
Yep.
is absurd, right?
That was wild.
Beside the
Yeah.
fact that, I mean, I probably don't have to tell a lot of your audience this, but it's a lot of these are personas that are inhabited, and it's part of the genre. And there's trash talk that takes place, and a lot of it's hype. And producers get involved in the lyrics, and the record label gets involved in the lyrics. It's not like it's even poetry that's written that goes straight from an author, maybe without an editor. There's so many people involved in
Right.
crafting these lyrics. And I think what the judge would say on that, well, it would probably be, well, that goes to weight. You can argue that when you put on your case. I'm not quite, that's probably the attitude that they would take. But we have, I mean, Brian Steele has the resources. He's retained experts on this that are going to be speaking to the nature of music in general and rap music and the creative process that goes behind it. I mean, if I can keep on my little monologue here, for you interrupt me if I go too long, but take as an example the album cover to the Future and Thug album that came out, where you have the snake and you have the eagle,
Yep.
and the state was trying to make this out to be some type of threat, when really it's just the symbols for each of the artists that are on the label. So there's a lot of the culture that hasn't been that I think intentionally, by the way,
Mhm.
has not been that's been hidden. Yeah, there you go. There you
There it
go.
is.
That's been hidden from the jury by the state. And Brian has tried to get into this on cross, and I can guarantee you that when our case is presented, you're probably going to see a lot of testimony to educate the jurors about this. And while a bunch of 40-plus-year-old white guys may not be the best people to present this, I think the experts that Brian has are well versed. They're academics. They have studied this. Um, and they may not be the only ones that will end up testifying on these issues to the jury. And I think it's relevant, and the state has made it relevant by really confusing these issues to the jurors.
I agree 100%. Thank you so much for that. That was I appreciate it. And I want to say thank you to Kat also for blessing 10 people with their membership. So y'all, please, if you got a membership from Kat Not Williams, please make sure you say thank you.
Kat's great. I
Appreciate
love her feed.
I love it. I'm glad that she stopped through. Thank you so much, Kat, for helping out and grow the channel. Now, Creed, again, with a a £5 question. Is the prosecution, I'm sorry, if the prosecution gets a conviction, what case law could come from the appeal? You think RICO will get tightened, the length of the trials limited? And I'm also going to add to it some kind of safeguards for the jury. That's just something I'm going to add to it because I think the way the jury is being treated should be brought up under Geneva. But what is your answer to this?
Um, I would say it's a little hard at this point to know, because there are so many appealable issues in this case. And I haven't really studied the way Brian does appeals. I can tell you the way that I do appeals uh, in civil,
Mhm.
learning from some of the finest civil appellate lawyers I've ever met in my life. The key, I think, on appeals is you pick a few issues and you address those few. You can't go forward and say, here are the 50 issues I'm going to bring up in my appellate brief.
Right.
You have to pick your best issues and argue those. So a lot of it depends on what issues we end up having. Do I envision RICO getting tightened by this? Not necessarily. I honestly think the Georgia state legislature needs to revisit our RICO statute and
Okay.
fix it. But do state legislators get reelected by being quote unquote soft on crime or fixing criminal statutes? Rarely.
Wow.
So I don't have a lot of hope there. I really am counting on the judiciary. So there could be some issues on. I don't even know what's going to come. As far as length of trial, that could end up being addressed too. I hope we never get to appeal. I'd like to
I agree.
think the state's not going to be able to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, and we don't see appeal. But they have a long way to go. This case they haven't even presented half their witnesses yet. So I'm not dancing in the end zone yet.
Wow. Now, just in case, if you needed some motivation, Doug,
Yeah.
Erin, the vegetarian, said she'll buy that painting off you.
I don't
Just in case,
know.
just in case your wife wants to get rid of it or something. Erin said she wants it. So just
Now,
let you know.
see, and now I'm really hoping, so we got this painting from a thrift shop at the food pantry where we work. And I'm not going to tell the thrift shop because my wife gets amazing clothes from there, and I don't want everybody rushing over there snagging those clothes before she can get them. But everyone is loving on this painting, and I worry that I'm going to be driving by a gas station one day, and there's going to be a big Econoline van out front with a bunch of paintings stacked around it, and I'm going to see this painting over there. But thanks for the love of the painting, and I definitely will pass it on to my wife.
I love it. Now I know that Miss Mandy had a question, so I'm gonna bring her back on.
Okay.
And there she is. Hey, Mandy,
Hey
how are
there.
you?
Hey, Mandy.
At this point, would you take a plea deal for Yak Gotti, or are you in it for the long haul to get the complete not guilty?
That's a great question. And on the issues of plea deals, none of that is, oh my gosh, sorry. It's a new client texting me.
Oh, no.
None of that are, that's not my call. Whether or not to take a plea, whether or not to finish a trial, that's always my client's decision.
Right.
So I don't really have an answer for you at this point on that. And it's
You
not,
think that
yeah,
would be
I just
something
don't,
he would be up for, or do you think he just wants the,
I
or do
can't
you
really
not really
speak
know?
to that. I can't really
Okay.
address it just because it would be potentially disclosing client confidences.
I'm
And
sorry. Okay, that makes
no,
sense.
it's fine. No, it's a great question. You know, at this point, we're winning the case. So
Yeah, I think so.
I would expect that any plea offer would have to be a pretty good offer, right?
Right.
Right.
But I don't know what's going to happen
Okay.
going forward.
Okay.
Right now,
Thank
I can tell you this. I can tell you this for sure. We're in it for the long haul. We're in it for a jury decision, and we're fighting and doing
Good.
everything we can as if this is going to go to a jury. And that's at least right now what I'm expecting to happen.
All right.
Wow.
Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you,
Sure.
Mandy. All
Thanks
right.
for the
So
question.
since she kind of brought this up, and I want to bring this question in,
Yeah.
do you have other clients? I think you kind of alluded to it. Do you have
Yeah.
other cases that you're working on?
I do. And so, for
How
example,
do you do that?
well, it's very hard.
Wow.
There's nights, there's weekends. We have 3 lawyers in the office I work in. There's Jay Apt, who runs the office. There's myself, and there's Katie Hingerty. So, for example, in trial tomorrow, you're going to see Katie Hingerty in trial. I'm not going to be there in YSL. And that's because I'm meeting with some other clients on their cases.
Okay.
So between the 3 of us, we try to manage all the cases we have in the office. We probably have a couple of 100 cases that we're working on. I know I've got 60 trials that are ready to go as soon as YSL is over. So we do our best to manage all our clients' cases. So when there are things like bond hearings, obviously we don't postpone or miss those. We do everything we can to get our clients out of jail, but they may have to wait a little bit before they get to trial.
Wow. Okay.
It's challenging.
Now, yeah.
And I'm not the only one, by the way. This applies to all of us
It sounds like it, yeah.
defense attorneys. We all have multiple clients.
Wow. So now how certain are you that this case could be turned over on appeal if the state gets if the state gets a conviction? And if so, will the defendants be free? Also, did Steele do the full 20 days in Rice Street?
Right. So how confident am I that this case would be overturned on appeal? I am really now, lawyers in general are very cautious people, right?
For sure.
We're really hesitant to say anything. We'll never say anything 100%, but I will say that I am very, very confident that this case would be overturned on appeal, which is pretty much as confident as I ever get.
Okay.
Will the defendants be free? No, they won't be
Okay.
free. They won't be free. If my client is convicted, he is going to be sitting in prison, waiting on this appeal to be done. And the appeal is going to take years. And why is it going to take years? Because we need a transcript before we can go up on appeal. And it's going to take some time just to get a transcript to this case. And this transcript is going to be a fortune, by the way. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy this transcript. I would expect. So will the defendants be free? No. So we need to win now. We're not playing for appeal. We're playing to win right now. I do not want Diamante Kendrick sitting in jail or in prison 1 day longer than he has to. Did Steele do the full 20 days in Rice Street? Actually, I think Brian asked to be put in Cobb County so that he could work with Jeffrey Williams while he was serving his weekends. He hasn't served any. The Supreme Court put that on hold pending appeal. So he has not served any time.
Wow. Okay. And let me, hold on. There we go. How's Yak's spirit? How are their spirits in there? You don't see a lot of cheesing and smiling, but you also don't see a lot of shoulders slumped and looking down at the floor. So
I think some days you will see a little bit of smiling, a little laughing, a little joking, because honestly, I've seen some folks give our clients heat when that happens. And don't give my guys heat when that happens, because think of what they're going through. And if they have the opportunity to laugh or smile or in any way relieve the tension, especially during a break in the proceedings, I am all for it. His spirits in general, his spirits are far better than mine would be given the circumstance. Right. And I am amazed by it. Are there days that are harder than others? Sure. But he, considering everything that he's going through, he is in great spirits. And I have nothing but admiration for his ability to weather this.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Do you know, and this is a secondary question to this one that came up earlier. Do you know if the state ever did their Brady Saturday school?
I don't know. It's none of my business. I haven't asked. That's between the state and the judge. Right. Just like I don't think it was any of the state's business when Judge Glanville was trying to decide what type of punishment to put on Brian Steele. So if stuff in my business, I don't get involved in it.
I like it. I like the way you handle that. Why does Judge Whitaker enable Love's unpreparedness?
Well, I'm going to disagree with the premise of that question, because I don't think she does enable it. I know she's been coming down pretty hard. Listen, I don't know how many trials you've watched. I have never seen a judge dress down an attorney, be it civil or criminal, and anything like what has happened repeatedly that Judge Whitaker has said to Ms. Love. And if I were her, I would just want to crawl under the table. The only thing I saw in my career, even close to that, is I watched a federal judge in the Eastern District of Virginia really dress down a young associate for making some misrepresentations to the court. And she was in tears in court. It's something as an attorney that is absolutely humiliating. And while people haven't seen, well, why doesn't she sanction her? Why doesn't she fine her, do something like that? I don't know how to explain it other than that type of addressing down to most attorneys is more painful than any kind of a fine is. It's
Wow.
just humiliating.
Okay. I understand your point,
Yeah,
but Amethyst Angel, thank you for the $2 super. I just want to push back a little bit, if
sure.
we could. There have been multiple, and maybe we need to do like a watch party. When you get done one day, we'll just come over and we'll watch like an hour of it together. But
Yeah,
there have been instances where it's clear, and it's a joke on the channel. It's a joke out here in cyberspace that Adrian Love is not going to have her homework done. It
yeah,
doesn't even matter what it is. She's going to come in with some half-baked excuse, or I emailed it at 6 o'clock last night, or those kind of things like that.
yeah,
And to us, the great unwashed, the watching, we feel like those are come off the top rope type of scenarios. And Judge Whitaker will just let it, well, just get it to us by lunch. How is she going to do it at lunch while she's
yeah,
examining somebody?
yeah.
Those are the scenarios.
She has given her a break at times on some of that stuff after kind of chewing her out a little bit in the morning. But you'll notice, like, I'll give you an example of where she didn't do that. You know, I seem to be in charge of complaining about late discovery for whatever reason. We all have organically grown certain roles in the courtroom.
We
So
appreciate you.
I constantly bitch about late discovery. And so they dumped a bunch of photographs of crime scene photos on us, I don't know, a week and a half ago. And I got in there and I complained about that. And Judge Whitaker kept them out. Judge Whitaker kept them out, said they're not coming in. So there are times it happens. We'd all like to see the judge perhaps come down a little harder. But I guess what some of it is? It's just so night and day from what Judge Glanville would do that even if it's not as much as we'd like to see, it feels somewhat refreshing.
Wow. Okay. You're in there. I've been in court a couple of times. I can't imagine what it's like to have been in there almost 140 something days. So you're in there a lot more. You've interacted with lots more of these key players. So I will give you that. But I guess from our watching perspective, it does seem like she's giving a lot of, you didn't turn in your homework.
Yeah.
Bring it, sit at the
No,
silent lunch table and finish your homework.
I get it.
Take it home and finish it. Bring it tomorrow. Make sure. I mean, it just seems like there's a lot of passing. But I agree.
Let me just say about that. I did everything I could the night before when all those emails were dropping,
Yes.
as well as that morning, to lay the groundwork as much as I could for the judge to come down on the state. And she did come down on the state, not as hard as maybe we all would like.
Right, absolutely.
But I do the things that I can do there. So
And you're doing a great job. So I don't want to.
no, listen, I got
we
this
observe.
in. You guys, you can criticize me all you want, and it's perfectly fine. It doesn't bother me. Maybe it's because I'm old as hell, because I'm 60. I don't know. But you guys go after me. It's fine. It's fine.
Well, I'm gonna go after you
You're
if I
not
don't get
pissing me off.
if I don't get a freestyle rap TikTok from you by
you don't
Friday, I'm gonna go off on you.
You don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that.
And thank you so much for extending out the memberships. Thank you so much. Now, not all Brady is created the same, and not everything is Brady. But when we have something that is truly, well, let me ask you this question to go along with Bitter Lily. Is everything that we've seen, these late discoveries, are those really Brady, or are they just late discovery? I don't, help us out with that.
Sure, let me help you. So Brady material is material that could be potentially exculpatory or lead to exculpatory information that's in the possession of the state, and they're required under that case to give it to the defendant. So that's what Brady material is. Okay. The issue isn't so much should it be excluded, because that's Brady material is material that would help us. So I want that material. The question is, when they fail to turn it over, what should the repercussions be, right? And here's the problem. There's just a lot of case law that says, well, they should have turned it over to you. They didn't turn it over to you, but you did eventually find out about it, or you did eventually get it. And therefore, there's kind of not really been a Brady violation. And that's kind of what's been happening to us. Yes. The question I always wonder is, where's that Brady material that we don't know about? What it's an unknown. And what do you do about that? So there are issues there.
Okay. No, I got you.
Yeah.
Now, all right. Real
So I
quick,
have to do one of two things.
yes.
I either have to drop off
Okay.
or you're going to have to give me a comfort break.
I'm gonna give you a comfort break, and I'm gonna answer some supers. So I'm gonna put you
Y'all
in
can
the
admire the painting.
yes, we can admire the painting.
I'll be right back.
You got it. All right. Thank y'all so much. Everybody, y'all are the best. You are the best. Thank y'all so much for tapping in with us. We have Doug in here answering your questions. He's been giving us some good insight. This has been very informative. I've learned a lot. This has been very helpful, and especially getting us warmed up, getting us ready for tomorrow's horse trading session that's going to be going on. So I appreciate it, y'all. Thank you so much. I'm ready to ask him about the hot mic. So there's a question about the hot mic. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you very much, Cash, for the $2 super. Love and Brady offenses. Will Judge Whitaker stand on ruling? I think he kind of answered that. Not everything is Brady, but that whole, it's not that bad because you did finally get it. I also noticed that they give oftentimes the state will say, we're not going to use this for, 2 or 3 weeks or whatever like that. And I feel like that pads the Brady, if you will, takes a little edge off of the Bradyism. But I'll make sure I ask him that. Thank you so much for that $2 super. Why don't any of the judges who weighed in on Glanville think the ex parte meetings were illegal? That's a great question, Messer. Thank you for the $5 super, and I'm going to have that. I'm ready to ask him that. I appreciate that. No, you guys have been great. Thank y'all so much for that, and I'm looking forward to getting him back in here and. Michael Williams, thanks for the $5 super. There are many a donkey whose poor ears have fallen off. There's many a donkey. So you are right about that one. So let's get them back in here. Let's get them back in. We got a lot of good questions here. All right, let's go. How's it going,
Thank you
friend?
for indulging me, Your Honor.
Not a problem. All right, here it comes. Mr. Weinstein from Michelle. Since we all know Gaither was on hot mic, the judge probably knows about it, knows it was true. Will she address Gaither for calling the defense horrible? I do want to ask this one question. I do want to give you, before you answer that question, I do want to ask something. You all could hear that, couldn't you?
I could not.
You could not.
No.
Wow. Okay.
No, but I did see the chat explode.
The chat went
I
insane.
knew about it right away. And then, of course, everybody messaged me, which is great. That's fine. I don't want to stop people from doing that because who knows what I'll miss. But I did. I think I may have had the law and crime stream up and I saw the chat explode. So I didn't. We all knew about it.
I'm gonna have to.
I
I'm gonna
did
have to give you a
not.
demerit. I'm gonna have to give you a demerit. You need to say you had the Dear Woke Christian chat up next time. Say that because this is the best live chat on the planet. Strike that. Strike that.
We'll fix it. Is this on tape? We'll fix it in post.
We'll fix it in post. Editor Jason, fix that. All right. So
I was watching the Dear Woke Christian feed and I saw the chat explode.
I like how you said that. All right. Do you think Judge Whitaker will say anything about this?
No.
No. Okay.
No, I don't think so. I think she probably views it as pettiness. And I think what she said from the bench is exactly how she feels. I don't think she kept it hidden. That if she really did, and she did, obviously, if she mumbled that under her breath, and the jury could hear it, it makes her look bad. And so she didn't have to say anything. I think she still probably should have said something, but having said that she's not going to say anything, I don't think she's going to say anything.
I got you. Now, Lady Cash asked, Love and Brady offenses. Will Judge Whitaker stand on those rulings? Do you think, as it relates to this late discovery, but it's, we're not going to need it for a month, which, by the way, I think that's part of their plan. They'll roll out something that could possibly be considered Brady, but then they'll say, oh, well, Your Honor, we're not going to need it till, December.
So for folks that weren't paying attention during or weren't really watching back during our 10-month jury selection process, the state kept dropping discovery on us, 5, 6, and technically trial started January, 4th or 5th, 2023. So all discovery should have been to us in December of 2022. And the state kept dropping discovery, dropping discovery, dropping discovery. And what would happen would be that Judge Glanville would basically say, even if it was like 6 months in, like in July, Judge Glanville would say, well, you know, you're not prejudiced by this because you've got plenty of time to still review that, to interview witnesses, etc. But the reality was, you know, we're in trial. I mean, I'm sitting there every day for jury selection. I don't have I mean, I got nights and weekends, you know, but it's hard once trial begins. So I think we were prejudiced by that. Okay, will Judge stand on the rulings? She pretty much has stood pat on most of her rulings. Now, when we had Judge Glanville, Adrienne Love learned, Miss Love learned that if she lost, but she kept arguing for long enough, and you saw this, she'd get Judge Glanville to change his mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is why when I got Judge Glanville to rule for Diamante Kendrick and throwing out the bulk of his police interrogation, and Miss Love got up there and started arguing and arguing and arguing. That's why I kind of interrupted, because my fear was if I let her keep going, he was going to reverse himself. You know, that wasn't good for my client. So I was rude. I did something I shouldn't have done, and I interrupted her. But I felt I had to do that to protect my client.
I love it. I love it. Doug, I got about 5 more questions. Do we got time?
We got time for me. I got time. I'm good till 8:30.
Okay, and we're gonna make sure we don't go past that. All right, real quick. Why don't any of the judges who've weighed in on Glanville think that the ex parte meetings were illegal?
Well, I think that if you read Judge Krause's ruling, it was she didn't really make a ruling on that. It was more of dicta. In other words, like a little statement she threw out that doesn't really have legal weight, that you shouldn't really accord much weight to, much gravity to. So I don't think Judge Krause really made a considered ruling on that. Why didn't Judge Whitaker believe that there was an issue with it? I think she may have believed there was an issue with it, but she believed that she was able to correct it. She was able to remedy it through things that she did when she took over the case. I don't agree with that.
Right.
I think it was a mistake. I think the ex parte clearly, if you go back and read my motions, merited a mistrial with prejudice. And so there's something I completely disagree with Judge Whitaker on.
I agree. Is it fair to say that, do you feel that Judge Whitaker, by hook or by crook, wants to get this trial across the finish line to a jury no matter what? Is that a fair assessment?
I'll just let her actions speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Draw the conclusions you want to draw.
I'm with you 100%. Now, and thank you, by the way, thank you so much, Messer, for the $5 super as well. Now, Amethyst Angel Doug, y'all treated Woody with so much compassion. The entire defense team really made Love look as evil as she is. Don't you think they're infecting the jury's humanity? I would decide and go against the state, despite the state, forgive me. So do you feel like that the approach of the state, you know, how they treated Zachary, how they treated Sledge, how they treated Woody, works against them, or do you think it works for them?
Well, I think it clearly works against them. When I was questioning Mr. Copeland, when I was questioning Woody, my intent was not to be compassionate or to make the state look bad. My intent was to do the most effective cross I could while treating him with the same humanity that I try to treat everybody with, whether it's a witness, a judge, the prosecutors, my client. I mean, I try to treat everybody with humanity. And especially as I've gotten older, I try to understand that people lead complex lives and you never know what's happening with people, what's happening in their background, what's happening in their lives at any given moment.
Right.
I don't know what kind of pressures Adrienne Love is under to get a guilty verdict here. I don't know what's going on there. I mean, she's kind of worn out her welcome with me, but I And I feel bad when I don't. I really want to treat everybody with humanity, and that's all I was trying to do with Woody. I don't think, if you saw how I treated Mr. Zachary, I don't know that I was particularly compassionate there. I mean, I think I kind of gave him a bit of a scolding. Someone said that, I came across as disappointed dad. That I don't know if that really wasn't what I was going for. But I did want to highlight to the jury that because of his lying to the cops a few years ago, he's sitting over there in that witness stand and going home, whereas my client is, I couldn't say Rice Street, but sitting
Right.
over there as a defendant. And that's why I said, take he said he was a full grown man. I'm like, yeah, you're a full grown man. Take responsibility for your actions. So I don't know that that was compassionate, but I'd like to think that I treated him humanely.
I think disappointed dad is a good moniker, but I mean, when my dad was disappointed in me, he still treated me like a human that needed to be disciplined, that had
Yeah.
brought about the disappointment. So no, I think that's
I
fine.
meant to be a little bit harsher than disappointed dad, so I didn't quite get across what my goal was.
Well, according to my dad, trust me, nobody wants to measure up to disappointed
Yeah, I know, right?
Mr. Whitaker. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Amethyst, for the $10 super. Now, Michael says his. why does Whit rush the defense and love talk her ears off a donkey? We're gonna have to get a T-shirt with a donkey with no
I
ears
know,
on it,
right?
because that might have to happen.
And I'm just surprised that people have not heard that expression. Do you not have that expression in Chicago? Is that just a Southern expression?
I never heard it till the day you said it.
I promise I didn't make it up.
But as I always say, she can talk the ears off a donkey. See, I
Yeah,
did that.
So Judge Whitaker has basically been inviting us to make 403 objections when appropriate. She has, in fact, rushed the state at times. I think I've already kind of spoken to this issue a lot, but
Yeah.
I don't feel that she always rushes the defense. But there's times when the state has just gone through something in such a plodding way that I think the judge is just frustrated. And as you say, we maybe catch some strays.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. Michael, thank you for the $2 super. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Shao. I appreciate you for becoming a new member. Now, this question is going to cover both. There's two of these questions, or two similar questions, and this is from Eric Stevens. Ask about Gaither's file being found by Love. All right. And this is like a dual question. Was it, to us, that seemed like everybody thought that was the infamous Brady smoking gun type of scenario. What was that? What
Yeah.
happened there?
I think the reason it didn't blow up as much as people were expecting is because there was no material in that file that we hadn't already been given. Now it was kind of buried, but in 6 terabytes of discovery, there's going to be stuff kind of buried. Like, it wasn't labeled in the file folder, here are Gaither's files. I mean, that's not how it was. So we weren't aware that material that we had was what's in Gaither's files. But I think, and Max really wasn't, the judge really didn't let Max get his full cross out on this. But the reason, and I don't know if folks watching picked this up, the reason that Gaither's physical file being found was so important is because on previous cross-exam by Max Shart, when Max asked, did you interview these witnesses? Where are your reports where you interviewed these witnesses? Gaither would repeatedly say, yes, I interviewed them. They're in my file. They're in my file. They're in my file. Well, where's the file? I don't know. APD has it. I don't have access to the file. We'd ask the state, where's the file? The file's lost. So I don't believe the state when they say they didn't realize the import of finding that file, because Max made a big deal out of the fact that Gaither said she did this. Gaither said the evidence that she did it was in the file. Boom, you found the file.
The file materialized.
Let's
right.
see the damn file. Let's see if what Gaither said was in the file was in the file. Well, lo and behold, it wasn't in the file. And I don't think we were really able to make that point as much as we would have liked to.
Got you. So let me ask another question about that. Doug, have you known, and by the way, Eric, thank you so much for the $2 super. Have you ever known that a physical file was impacted by a cyber attack?
Never, never. I've never known that, or that I think at one point she testified that she had some information on an external hard drive to her computer. Now, it is possible. I mean, I have
Yeah.
a bit of a science, computer science and engineering background. It is possible that a hack could get down to that level, but it is highly improbable.
And I think also is improbable because she was already retired from APD when the cyber attack was just last year. So if her computer was plugged in, her hard drive was plugged into the computer, what computer was it plugged into? Because now,
Well,
unless she's going to have to explain a lot more.
don't be confused. There were two cyber attacks. There was that
Oh my
recent
gosh, okay,
one.
two of them.
There was an earlier, like 2017, 2018 cyber attack, which
Okay.
has been the get out of jail file for the state, or get out of jail card for the state for several years when stuff doesn't appear. It's the, well, Your Honor, we had that hack in 2017, 2018.
I'm going to try that. I'm
Yeah,
going to
you
try
try
that
it.
when
It's a dog ate my homework
oh
defense.
my gosh. I'm going to say, babe, the reason the kitchen isn't clean because of the cyber
There you
attack.
go. There you go.
All right. Why did other defendants not ask for a speedy trial?
I don't really know the answer to that. We didn't ask for a speedy trial.
Right.
I wasn't as involved in the case back then when that decision was made.
Okay.
So I don't really know the reason behind that. So I don't really have a good answer for you on that.
Okay. Well, thank you, Butterfly Lover, for the $2 super.
It's a great question. I don't have
Yeah,
I just
for
don't have the
sure.
answer.
Because it seemed like everybody benefits from one person doing it, but why did everybody not do it? I think it's that's what I was wondering too. So
Yeah, I don't think it was any type of a strategic decision where 28 defendants got together and figured out I don't mean to say that mockingly. I don't at
I
all.
got you.
I just meant sometimes there are kind of some decisions made, but I don't believe that happened there.
Gotcha. Doug, I'm gonna blitzkrieg through some of these because there's some comments as well. I don't
Go
want
ahead.
to Michelle, thank you for the $5 super. She says, hey, just let Doug know that how we feel out here. Doug, you are amazing. And I have to agree. We enjoy watching you all and we're definitely supportive of you. So I want to make sure I let you know that.
Thank you.
And sorry about that. Doug for president. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's another option for you there, sir.
Yeah.
If
Well,
you ever get bored,
yeah.
you got an option of becoming
Yeah.
president.
Yeah. I'm all for it, but trust me, I am unelectable.
Trust me, I'm right there. I'm your unelectable vice president.
Mhm.
Great YSL coverage, your woke Christian. Hey, Doug, thank
I
you so much.
agree and hey back.
907 for the $2. Okay, let me real quick because I do want to get you out of here. Hey, why is Love able to talk to Gaither as a sworn witness but not Sprinkle? Did I miss something?
I have the same question.
I think we're gonna have to file that under this is the most unusual case ever because there's as you mentioned earlier, there's so much that we've never seen happen before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Mixed Chick. Go ahead.
No. I mean, I really do have the same question. I don't think it was appropriate. And I think that her testimony changed after lunch, after she got talking to.
It did. It did. I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Can the three prosecutorial misconduct complaints against Love that are supposed to be going to the bar get her kicked off of this case?
I don't know anything about any complaints that have been made to the bar. I certainly haven't made any complaints to the bar. Maybe some people have. Could it get it? I doubt anything that goes to the bar would result in her getting kicked off this case. I think the highest probability of her getting kicked off the case is when Brian Steele added her to his witness list, because you cannot be a fact witness and a lawyer in a case, and he wasn't able to succeed in getting her disqualified from the case.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you, Grumps. 503 Grumps for the $5 super. Great question. Doug, a lot of people in the chat think Love is a terrible lawyer. Please let us know.
I don't necessarily think she's a terrible lawyer. I think she knows the law. I think she has a lot of experience, 15 years of experience at least. I think that she has some admirable qualities. I think she is as persistent a lawyer as I've ever seen.
There's no
She
argument there.
works incredibly hard. She works really long hours. I've had her call me at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night before. Um, uh, you know, I, she's probably a better prosecutor than I am because I don't have experience and she does. But you know, I let people judge her lawyering skills for themselves. She doesn't, you know, lawyer the way I do.
I got you.
That's for sure.
I got you. And thank you, by the way, Pete, for the $5 super. Now, some guy with cancer says he's born in Texas and he's heard that, lived in Arkansas, and he's heard that phrase. I think we're talking about
There you
talking to
go.
years on
Well,
the
you know,
donkey.
I
I've
would
never
I
heard
would
it
say
before.
Texas is not the South. It's its own unique entity, and I say that in a very positive and good way. It's its own land, but okay, it's in Texas. That's good.
And you know what? We're at the bottom of our list now. King Cam says, did he hear what DA Love said about Ricky Richards and how does he feel about the phone call when I was talking with the police on the phone? Huh. Well,
I don't know what she may have said about Ricky Richardson. I don't recall that.
you don't
She may have
recall?
well said something about him. And Mike, there's so much that goes on that I've just like flushed that from my brain because something else has taken its place.
I got you. And let me end this because I do want to talk about the jury, and then I'm going to get you out of here.
Yeah.
Is this because somebody did ask, why did they not sequester the jury? And I guess probably because of just the cost of sequestering people for almost 3 years. But as it relates to the jury, what's do you feel like they're able to keep all this information in some kind of order, in some kind of systematic format to be able to follow it? So when it comes to closing arguments, they're able to put it in order, or what?
You know,
Because to
I'll
us, it
leave.
looks like it's just a big
You know,
craziness.
I'm not a social scientist or psychiatrist or someone that studies any of this. So I kind of do. In my life, what I try to do is defer to expertise.
For sure.
So what I would suggest is people go back and look at the motion that I filed in, maybe it was March, to put a time limit on the state's case, because I cite a lot of cases that cite journal studies of this issue. And what those studies show is that even in trials that are only, say, 20 days in length, jurors can't keep it all. They can't stay focused. So you're talking about a trial that's several years. I think the experts have said that it's virtually impossible for the jurors to keep all of this straight. I will tell you that many of them are taking notes.
Okay.
So perhaps those notepads will help them. And then, of course, at the end, we have closing arguments. So it's our job as lawyers to bring it all home, to synthesize it, and remind the jury of those important points.
I love it. I'm going to get you out of here. I'm going to kick you out of here, Doug,
You're
'cause I want
always
you to go with that
welcome.
motion. Give us a final word as we get ready to. We're all going to probably tap in at 8:45 tomorrow and watch you, whatever color glasses you're going to have and what kind of
It won't
socks
be
you're
me
going to have.
tomorrow, but I'll be there
Oh,
Thursday.
that's right. That's right. You're right. So give us a final word. What should we, what would be your admonishment to the watching jury?
Yeah. Well, to those watching, I would say I'm really curious to see what Judge Whitaker has to say about that 403 type motion that Ms. Love filed. That should be an interesting response. But mostly, I guess what I want to say is to thank everybody for supporting our clients through this. I will say that on various feeds, I'll show my clients the words of support. You ask how he's getting through this. A lot of him getting through this is people showing so much love in the chats and in the Twitter that I'm showing him. So it's a big help, and I really appreciate it, and I know he appreciates it.
Got you. Well, thank you, Doug. Is the best way to follow you? Would you rather we follow you on Twitter or follow you on TikTok so we can watch your freestyle rap that you're going to give me by Friday?
You know, I'm new to this whole TikTok thing, so I don't know that that's going to be.
It's not going to happen.
Follow me on Twitter. I'm more active on Twitter.
I love it.
And I think I will mostly respond. Anyone that wants to ask legal questions on Twitter, again, I'm happy to answer those. Okay.
I love it. Doug, I want to thank you very much. The Honorable Doug Weinstein, for hanging
Thank
out
you
with
very
us
much for
this
having me
evening.
on.
Thank you for your time. Bless you. Have a fantastic day tomorrow. We look forward to seeing you in court on Thursday.
I'll be there.
All right. Make sure you have some fancy glasses, and we'll see you then, my friend.
Oh, for sure.
All right. Take care, Doug. Thank you, friend.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that was Doug Weinstein. That was fantastic. Thank you all for the questions. And hopefully I was able to get everybody's questions. There were a lot of them, by the way. So I appreciate it. But hopefully you all can see, like, this gentleman's he's got some motions to write, right? We don't want to take away from his motions. We want the motions written. So we have something to read tomorrow. But I want to say thank you all to every last one of you. There was better than 1,500 of you all who've tapped in tonight. Thank you so much for making the live chat amazing. I don't know if the moderators did, but if the moderators could please just drop Doug Weinstein's Twitter information in there. It'd be great to have you all support him. Hey there, Lady Hall. Good to see you. Thank you so much for stopping through tonight. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. I'm really glad that Doug was able to come through. That was well worth the wait. It was well worth the wait. I want to say thank you to each of y'all for stopping by and tapping in, whether you were in the chat, you dropped the question, whatever like that. Hopefully we got everybody got at least a good share of their questions in, because there was a lot of questions and Doug was super gracious to come in and just answer all of them. So I thank you all so much for that. We're going to do this again. Well, we'll be ready to start back up tomorrow, probably in about 12 hours. So your boy need to go get some sleep. But we'll be doing day 141. We'll be live streaming it tomorrow. Start at 8:45-ish, I think is what time it's supposed to start. It's going to be horse trading the rest of the week, though, by the way. So to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they're going to just be motioning and such of that nature. Jury comes back on Monday. So as I like to say, there's going to be a lot of horse trading going back and forth. But that's, from my understanding, that's where a lot of stuff happens. A lot of stuff gets moved. So should be some good times. But we'll do that on tomorrow. I thank y'all so much, each and every one of y'all, for tapping in with us tonight. It's been a lot of fun. Let's do this again real soon, everybody. I will see you all tomorrow morning, Lord willing. And until then, everyone, grace and peace. Take care.